Open your refrigerator. Cold air spills out. It feels like the box is making cold, conjuring it from nothing. It isn't. A refrigerator cannot make cold. Cold is just the absence of heat. So the real trick is quieter and stranger. This machine is a heat pump. All day, all night, it reaches into the food, grabs the warmth, and carries it somewhere else. Let's slice one open and watch the heat try to escape. Here is the box, layer by layer. On the outside, a painted steel shell you lean against. Just inside, a thick blanket of foam insulation, sealed tight to keep warmth from creeping back in. Then the working parts, thin metal coils, a small pump humming at the back, and a fluid moving in a loop. At the center, the thing you actually want, not a source of cold. A pocket of air with its heat removed. The hero of this story is a fluid called a refrigerant. It is special for one reason. It boils and turns to gas at a very low temperature, then condenses back to liquid with a little squeeze. That flip, liquid to gas and back, is the whole game. When a liquid boils, it drinks in heat from everything around it. When a gas condenses, it dumps that heat back out. The refrigerant just loops between those two states, ferrying warmth like a bucket brigade. Follow the loop and start at the back of the fridge, where a small pump sits and quietly works. This is the compressor, the heart of the machine. Cool, low-pressure gas drifts in. The compressor squeezes it hard, packing the molecules close together. Squeezing a gas heats it up, the same way a bike pump warms in your hand. Now the refrigerant is a hot, high-pressure gas, tense and crowded, desperate to let go of all that heat. The hot gas now flows into the condenser, a winding maze of thin coils, usually hidden behind or beneath the fridge. Here the refrigerant meets the room air, which is cooler than it is. Heat always slides from hot to cold, so warmth pours out of the coils and into your kitchen. As it loses heat, the gas calms and condenses into a warm liquid. That faint heat you feel near the back of a running fridge, that is your food's warmth leaving. Next comes a tiny, almost invisible part doing huge work. The expansion valve, sometimes just a pinhole-thin tube. The warm liquid refrigerant is forced through this narrow gap into a wide, low-pressure space on the other side. Suddenly, the molecules have room to spread out. When a fluid expands into open space, it cools sharply. In an instant, the refrigerant turns frigid, a cold, low-pressure mist. It enters the next stage colder than anything inside your kitchen, ready to absorb. Now the cold mist enters the evaporator, the coils tucked inside the fridge walls, wrapped around the food compartment. The refrigerant here is colder than your leftovers, your milk, your air. So heat does what heat does. It flows from the warm food into the cold coils. As it drinks up that warmth, the refrigerant boils back into a gas. The food, robbed of its heat, grows cold. This is the only place cold is actually delivered quietly from the inside. Step back and watch the whole circle turn. Cold gas leaves the evaporator carrying the food's heat. The compressor squeezes it hot. The condenser dumps that heat into the room. The valve lets it expand and chill. The evaporator soaks up more warmth inside. Then around again and again, thousands of times a day. Nothing is used up. The refrigerant is just a courier, endlessly walking heat from the cold inside to the warm world out there. But the fridge does not run forever. A thermostat watches the temperature inside, like a careful gatekeeper. When the air drifts a few degrees too warm, it switches the compressor on, and the whole loop begins to hum. When the inside hits the target chill, it cuts the power, and everything falls silent. That click and quiet sigh you hear at night is the thermostat resting the machine. It only moves heat when heat needs moving, saving energy in between. There is one more quiet hero, the insulation and the soft rubber gasket around the door. Heat from your warm kitchen is always trying to leak back in, undoing the work. So the walls are packed with thick foam and the door seals shut with a magnetic strip. Open the door and you let a flood of warm air rush in. The fridge feels it and works harder. That is why a closed, well-sealed door keeps your food cold for less energy. Real fridges add clever wrinkles. The freezer sits where the refrigerant is coldest, fed first by the evaporator. Over time, moisture freezes onto those coils as frost, which chokes the heat flow. So many fridges run a brief heater on a timer, melting the frost away before it builds up. The water trickles to a small tray on top of the warm compressor and simply evaporates. A machine fighting frost by making a little heat to keep making cold. So here is the whole journey in order. The compressor squeezes the gas hot. The condenser sheds that heat into your room. The valve lets the refrigerant expand and turn icy cold. The evaporator pulls warmth out of your food. And the cycle closes, ready to run again. A refrigerator never makes cold. It only moves heat patiently from the small cold box you trust out into the wide warm room you live in. Quiet, relentless, and clever. Next time the fridge hums, you will know exactly what it is doing. It is not making cold. It is reaching into the box, gathering the heat, and carrying it out into the room, over and over, all night long. This was the Cutaway. Come back soon, and we will slice open another quiet machine you have used 1,000 times, but never really seen working.